West End, and was very impressed by the story.
Yeah.
And I remember coming out of that theatre and thinking, oh, this, the story is set in Liverpool in the original, and but there were so many similarities to Cape Town, and that I had that idea that this story could play very easily as a Cape Town story. So it's Willy Russell's musical on the West End, and I'm thinking, I wonder if I could get the permission to do something like this. And I made some inquiries, and there was no response to that. I didn't know, but nobody knew who I was in those years. So then 30 years go by.
Yeah.
Well, no, not 30, but 25 years go by. And I hear that Pieter Toerien has the rights to produce the musical in South Africa, Blood Brothers. So I go to see him, and I knock on his door and say, Mr. Toerien, I have this idea. Why don't we do it as a Cape Town story? And he said, sounds interesting, let me ask them. And so Mr. Toerien, went back to the agent, and they said, okay, let David Kramer write us an example of what he would do, which I did, sent it back to them, and got a reply to say, yes, okay, this is quite interesting, we like the idea of an adaptation to South African situation, and they said write more, and so I started more than a year ago, and I was able to meet with Mr. Russell in London on 2 occasions, got to know each other a little better, and then it was much easier after that.
What kind of person is he?
He has a dry wit. I like his sense of humor. I found that he and I had a very similar background. We both guitar players, and he's a little older than I am, but we come from a similar era. We both were interested in playing folk guitar music. He grew up in Liverpool and had an interest in the theatre in a similar way to my interest, and that is sort of theatre that speaks to ordinary people about their ordinary daily lives. So the kind of playwriting that he did is the themes that he focuses on are the sort of thing that I'm also interested in. So we found that we had a good rapport. We liked the same kind of music and the same kind of influences.
What is it about this story that is so close to South Africans or Cape Townians in general? Why is it so close? Why does it hit so close to home?
Firstly, it's not about race. Most of our stories often investigate our racial history, our prejudice. This story is about class, about privilege, and people who don't have opportunities. So, and universally, you can identify with, the one boy gets to grow up in a privileged environment and the other one doesn't, and how differently their lives turn out. So, we all understand that. And in South Africa, we really understand that. What if I was born there and not here? How would I have turned out? That's a very important question for us to ask ourselves. So we respond to that. And we get to know these two families, and we get to know these boys, and and they don't know that they're brothers. They don't know they're connected, and that's the story. And so we follow that with enormous interest. And this musical has been translated into Japanese. Now it's so far from Liverpool, but the story is universal.
What was it about Tali Peterson that made him so special to you, and how would you describe your relationship with him?
Well, he was a very talented musician, a great performer, and he had a wonderful ear for music, and we worked well together. We were a good team because he was stronger in the music side and the arrangements and the writing of the melodies. And I was strong with the words and the story. So combined, it was 1 and 1 equals 3. So we were a really good team, and we got along well together. We you know, we also travelled a long road, and so we understood the hardships and the difficulties. In those days, we got together during apartheid. I mean, this was BEE before they even thought of BEE.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we were unusual. We were an unusual team during those years, and it made us strong.